It's none other than DC. What's up, DC?
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing? I like that shirt. George has that old school
It's
DC shirt.
talking about me, because I'm
I'm talking
representing.
about George, man. Your name's not George.
My
Goze.
mine doesn't fit no more, man.
You lost all that weight. You look good. I want to look like you when I grow up, Goze. I want to be like you, baby.
Thank you.
So how you doing? How you coping with this pandemic?
Oh man, bored. I was just talking to some of my friends, and I said, uh, through this whole thing, I said the pandemic has kind of made us closer. We've reconnected because we're all text messaging so much. But man, it's just boring, especially now, as we're kind of settling in. When you first start, there's a lot of doing things. If there's anything around the house, you do it immediately. If there's things you want to do in terms of projects, you do it immediately. So then right after that, you're kind of sitting there with nothing to do. And that's kind of where we are now at this point. Before it was just, oh, I'm in my backyard, I'm getting things done. And now all those things are done. And now it's just wake up to sit around and try to figure something to do.
Wait a minute. Your backyard, your man cave, all the things you ever wanted to shore up around the house, they're done?
Yeah, well, I moved, right? So like I don't have a whole bunch of stuff to do at this new house, right? So I needed to
Oh,
put in grass. I needed grass. We didn't have grass in the backyard, so I put the sod in, and that was like we took a day and a half to do that, and then I built the dog kennel for my dogs because we didn't have a fence in. I was able to do some stuff on my patio. All that stuff was like in the first like 2 weeks. I mean, you got to think in California we were quarantined a little bit sooner than the rest
I did
of
hear
the
that.
country. So
Yeah.
we've been locked down almost a month. So all those things are kind of done now.
What
So
kind
I
of
started looking at new
dogs you got?
projects, and I'm getting a. Bob Cook was over here the other day. We're ordering a sauna. I'm gonna have a sauna put in my backyard, and then I'm gonna try. I was looking at just things to do. Like maybe build a retaining wall to extend my backyard, make it bigger. I don't know. It's just you don't know what to do anymore. It's like you're just at a loss.
All right, real quick, and then I know Bill wants to chime in. What kind of dogs you got?
I have a Yorkie, Shih Tzu, and I have a Lab. So my wife has the Yorkie, and my daughter they like her, Jade, and I have a Lab. Her name is Ruby. So
Now, when you say I put in grass, I put in the kennel, did you actually do it, or did you say, "Hey, senor, this is where I would like the grass"? And
Yeah, was the guys like us that were doing all the work?
so I got a friend named Daniel, and his boys wrestle for me. They came over and they helped me lay the sod, but I was out there with them, man, on my hands and knees. We tilled the grass, or tilled the ground. We put the seed down. Then we had to put all. If like when the sod got delivered, they can't get around the side of my house with the uh, with the lifter, the thing that lifts. So they put it in the front yard. So me and the boys, we were taking wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow, just like 3 pallets of sod, and then just taking it off there and putting it right next to each other and getting it all where it needed to be in order to make a good looking backyard. And yeah, I did that. And then on the kennel, I did that by myself. I just did that by myself. So yeah, I also got a hyperbaric chamber. Yeah, Bob and I put that together. So yeah, I've been pretty busy in these last month, getting shit done around my house to be ready for when I get ready to start training camp again.
Daniel, so to conduct this interview, I need to know how to address you. And I'm going to go to some old school boxing and something we talked about years ago. With boxers, once you've won a belt, you're kind of just champ the rest of your life. What's up, champ? How you doing, right? It just
Yes.
you've accomplished something. When you won your Strikeforce Grand Prix title, I called you champ, and you told me, you go, I'm a champ here, but I haven't accomplished everything I want yet. So you told me to reserve that talk. Right now, how do you feel? If I call you champ, are you good with it, or is that something that would kind of sting a little bit?
So at first, when Deron Wynn always called me champ, and I was like, I need you to stop calling me champ because I'm not a champion anymore. And he was like, man, that's hard for me because he has um that mentality, like you're a champion, you're always a champion, and I mean, for the last 5 years, I've called you champ. It's hard for me to just turn that off right now because you don't have a belt. But I guess, honestly, like, people haven't stopped saying that since I lost the title. It's a crazy, the whole world. It's like this whole thing has been crazy for me. I expected a lot of change in my life whenever I didn't have the belt anymore. I mean, I had a belt from 2015 in May until 2019 in August. I had a UFC championship or two UFC championships. And so I really started to feel like it almost came to define me. So when I lost a belt and I didn't have any belt at all, it made me worried that my life would change and it would look a lot different. But it hasn't. It has not changed much. It does not look different. And honestly, um, I'm seeing so many different opportunities outside of the octagon, even more than I would have imagined in terms of not only media things, but sponsorship and companies wanting to be involved with me. And it's just, I never had a Disney, anything with Disney, and before the Rise of Skywalker came out, they called and wanted to partner with me in time for the home release of the movie, and they loved how well it did. So it's something that they want to keep revisiting down the line because they understand what I stand for as a family man and what we stand for in terms of who I am as a person. And so now I got this deal where I'm working with Disney, which is insane. That I get to go to Disneyland for free, and they take care of me. They do all these things that I never could have imagined.
So the belt doesn't define you, in other words, at this point.
Not I thought it did. It started to for a while, but I see now that life is going to be okay, and honestly, it's been more than okay, even as I haven't been the champion for uh, got to be almost 8 months now.
All right, so DC, I want you to update us on Gilroy Wrestling. I saw that March Madness got canceled. How far along in the season, and how much were you guys able to accomplish with your high school team?
Oh, we were done. Thank God we got done. We got to wrestle the state tournament, and you know, man, last year we were second in the state of California, which is one of the toughest states in the country. And I was very proud of my team, but we had 8 seniors and, we had a state champion, 7 medalists, and guys just over wrestled and did things that, we scored 187 points. Normally that would be a runaway state championship, but the team in Fresno is so good that they beat us. But as happy as I was with that team last year, this year's team, losing all those seniors, people didn't know what we would look like. You know, we ended up seventh this year, but we were 4 points, I think, out of fifth, which would have been top five, but we were 4 points out of fifth, and we were missing two kids that were ranked top four in the state. So we'd have added like 45 points on top of our score, which would have put us back into the top four in the state again. But injuries happen, and we lost two Division I level kids. We lost a kid that is committed to wrestle at Fresno State, was an All American in the summer at the toughest tournament in the country, and we also lost a kid that was fourth in the state as a sophomore and ranked top four going into the state tournament. We would have had a ton of, we'd had a lot more points and we would have been higher, but uh, to score 128, 29 points like we did without Jaden and without Victor, I think I was more proud of this team than I was even last year because they essentially maxed out their points with, I think we had 3 freshmen in our starting lineup, and they uh, they just did really well, and we won our conference tournament for the 18th year in a row this year. So we had a good season. We finished the year. We started the year number 9 nationally. We finished 31st because we did 7th in the state. But when those rankings came out, they didn't take into account that we lost all those two guys, and if they did, we'd have still been in the top 20. But we're coming though, Goze. We're coming, George. We have we have some middle school kids that are just insane. They wrestled. Uh, they're just insane. We have like 6 middle school boys that spent almost a month in Russia in January. I mean, seriously, like uh, it's Moses is 14. He's gonna be a freshman next year. Daniel, Elijah, and Isaiah are in 7th grade. Travis, Moses, and JC are in 6th grade. They all went to Russia and wrestled in Moscow. They wrestled 3 matches. They won all 3 dual meets. Then they went to Dagestan and wrestled 2 matches. They lost there. They had 9 matches total, won 7. But I mean, we sent them to Russia. They went with a couple of the parents, and they stayed at the Olympic Training Center, wrestled matches. Habib actually took care of their flights and housing and everything from Moscow to Dagestan. They trained at Habib's school, and they just came back even better. And we had like the middle school state championships right after they came back, and they won 6 weight classes in a row. So we're coming. We're coming.
All right, so DC, let's get to some MMA here. Bruce Buffer was a guest on our show the other day. He says, I'll be there if they call. Dana White is saying that Joe Rogan was misquoted or something, and that Joe Rogan will be there for these fight cards. So, what about you? You going to be joining these guys? You going to be joining Bruce and calling fights at the UFC, either this next show or in this next rotation of shows that they're going to come up with, the Private Island, all that?
You know, a lot of this has to do with location, right? If it's somewhere close and very accessible, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't do it. You know, there's going to be testing. There's going to be they're going to test everybody. I mean, you got to understand, going to do that UFC show, even if you aren't showing symptoms of the coronavirus, you're going to get tested anyway. So you may be better off than the people just sitting at home because you'll know them. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they won't let you into the UFC event without testing you. So when they test you, you'll know whether or not you have the coronavirus. And I believe that that makes it as safe as you could hope for. You know, obviously Dana and the company has access to those tests, and they're going to be able to test the fighters, test the referees and officials, test the workers from the UFC, the commentary team. They'll test everybody. So if there's going to be a safe situation, it's going to be um, with those people in that arena, especially if you go from your car into the arena to do the fight, out of the arena back to your car and back home. You know, unless you're stopping and doing all kinds of random things, you're pretty safe to go call the fight. So if it's accessible and I don't have to get on I don't want to get on an airplane and go through an airport right now. But if it's accessible and I go there and I get tested and I get to call the fights and then go home, yeah, why not?
Now, right now this period of time is all about waiting. Stipe, he's out there fighting fires. We just don't know what's next as far as cards. How long are you willing to wait to get back into the octagon?
Well, here's the thing, right? And this is what, for me as a competitor, this is what excites me. Um, that the UFC says they're getting back to business. Because if the UFC is getting back to business, then you didn't miss that much. You know, not much got canceled. And if they're going back to work, then that tells me that the day that we were going to fight before is probably still going to happen. And that to me is it's very refreshing to hear. It's exciting to hear, and I think we're still on schedule.
When the career wraps up, you're going to be able to say you fought John Jones twice, Stipe twice, and it looks like a possible third fight. With that possible third fight, could there be a scenario, win, lose, or draw, where you see Stipe Miocic as being your biggest rival in the UFC, seeing that you fought him 3 times and John only twice?
You know, I think I said this in the octagon after the fight. You know, when you win both, it's kind of hard to call it a rivalry. You know, and um, I lost those 2 fights. The reality is, for everything else that John and I was, I think that's going to be the one that stands the test of time because it was so bitter. But on the competitive side, I think, you know, Miocic will be that guy that when we are we walk away from this thing, you go, wow, DC had two really big series of fights. And I think three, honestly, because Anthony Johnson falls in line with that too. And I'm just one of those guys that was lucky enough to uh, fight big fights, fight big fights often, and have guys that were good enough to win or lose, get right back to those big fights. And the great thing about those rivalries and all those these three guys, between the three guys, 7 fights, is that every one of them was for a UFC championship, and uh, that's to me a bigger deal than even having those rivalries.
This
The
morning,
importance,
I
the
was
importance,
looking up
the
stuff on
importance
my
of the
phone.
fight because the importance of the fight because of the belts. You know what I'm saying? Like you can fight guys multiple times, but if you're fighting these guys so many times with the belt on the line, that speaks to you and to your opponent and the ability of both of you guys.
I was going to ask you this morning. I was looking at your social media, and I see you and Ariel. You had done a podcast, and in there was a tease. Did John Jones call you in the middle of the night? Because when I looked, it was over an hour
Not
long.
call.
I wasn't sure I was going to be able to catch it in time before we talked. What was that about?
Texted me. He texted me. He texted me in the middle of the night. Like
When was
it
this?
was weird. It was weird. Like it was just a random number I didn't recognize. And when I opened up the message, it was a video of some guys in a bar, like it was closing, and they were kind of like they were the last guys there, just hanging out, talking about who's the best fighter of all time. And it was like him and these dudes all like having a discussion, talking about who's the greatest fighter of all time. I promise it was the craziest thing ever. If I looked through my phone, I probably could find it, find that video of those guys. It was just the most unexpected thing that I could have ever imagined, especially at the time, because I mean, I'm sleeping. This is somewhere, wherever he is, East Coast, West Coast, dude, he was out hanging out, and those
But it was
guys were just
clearly
talking
his
about the
phone.
greatest fight.
It was him that initiated that text to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we have a couple common people in our lives,
Yeah.
and I think that's why he might have got my phone number. It's really not that hard, I guess, if you
How
really
long
look
ago
into
was
it.
this?
What?
How long ago was this text?
Oh, I don't know. It's been a while. It was. I don't know. It might have been after. It might have been after I had maybe last year, maybe like last year or something. I don't know.
Did your name pop up? Did you wind up replying to the text, or did you just?
I just said Oh, it was before they. How like now it says like maybe so and so if they just like text you and you don't have the number saved. How it does that on your phone. Like
Yeah.
if it's like if I didn't have Goze's number saved, it would say maybe or George. Maybe George. Whatever your last name is. Uh, uh, would show up on my phone. It did. It was before this update on the phone. So last year sometime, I guess. But I said, "Who is this?" Because I kind of had an idea because I could hear his voice, and then I sent the number to one of our common people, and he goes, "That's his number." I was like, "Well, you got to be kidding me."
Hmm. Let's talk about International Fight Week. We're about 3 months away, and that's, I guess, what they were angling for you guys. Although I'm hearing maybe August, San Francisco. But just tying it all in, would you rather that almost get postponed? Because it's kind of cool once a year to have the fans there and everything the UFC does. But at the same time, the close quarter stuff like the Hall of Fame, like, is it going to be the same? I'm almost thinking, like, could we just push that towards the end of the year and still call it International Fight Week? It just happened at a later date.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. You could do the International Fight Week thing a little bit later, the Hall of Fame in there. You could wait to have those events whenever people are able to congregate again. But I mean, the fights have to get going. I mean, as a country, I know that we need to be very serious about social distancing and stay at home and really try to stop the spread of this virus. But you just gotta hope as a person that life starts to get moving sooner than later because it's just hard, man. Everything just looks so different, like life just looks so different. I I find myself saying this almost every day to someone, like, I can't believe this is like happening in my lifetime. Like it's never You never could have imagined something like this would become part of your daily life, and it has. And you just hope that sooner than later we can get back to normalcy. Uh, and that's why I like that the UFC is trying to make a fight. I mean, that is one thing that's normal.
Hang
Every
on a
weekend
second.
there was a UFC fight, and you want some things to start looking normal again.
But think this through. Think about selfish DC at this point, all right? Don't you want to do the walkthrough in a crowded arena, blaring your song? Do you really want to do it like the old NWA days? Remember in the 1990s where they were just fighting a little studio audience or something like that?
Yeah. Look,
I mean,
look,
you waited
George,
a whole year to fight this guy for the third time. If you
I
push
get
it
it.
back a little bit, we might be back in an arena. But otherwise, if you fight sooner, it's just going to be that. I mean, you really want that to be your last fight?
George, for me, it's about me and Miocic. I love the crowd. I love that explosion that I got when I knocked him out in Vegas, and then you know I've had a life, a career of big moments, and I would love to have that last moment, but I would much rather have a chance to fight and compete, even if there are no fans, than to have to do what Vince Carter's career is going to end on. You understand? Like Vince Carter is done now. He spent 20 years in the NBA, and everywhere he went was going to be the last time he was there. But because the NBA season is pretty much done, and even if they do get to play, his team won't be in the playoffs. It's like Vince Carter never got that last chance. Even before we went under quarantine, they put Vince in the game, and Vince shot a 3-pointer as time was about to run out, and that's going to be the last time he scored a basket in the NBA, right? Like, I wish we could see him play that last game, and as the season wrapped up, everybody can give him a standing ovation, and he goes out on his own. But if he got to play in an empty arena but got to play his last game, that would probably still matter as much to him. Uh, it's much better than not getting to play the last game. So I'd rather fight the last fight than have to wait, and it becomes so long that I'm like, you know what, now I don't need to do this anymore.
I want to be respectful of our production team and all that, so we got to cut it short for today. But we want to thank you for being on the show. However, with us being quarantined and you saying you're looking for things to do, can we do a quick catch up sometime in the near future?
Absolutely.
I got more wrestling questions. I got Dark Side, WrestleMania, you know what I mean? But I want to get you on a part 2. Is that cool?
Yes, absolutely. Hey, Goze, how crazy, guys, George, Goze, how crazy was New Jack? Is New Jack not the craziest person?
I couldn't believe any of that, man. I could not believe that a human being operates that way and just he had no care in the world.
New Jack is the craziest human being walking the planet. And then when they said, New Jack, how do you want it to end? And he goes, I want to be in a wheelchair. It's so crazy. I've never seen nothing like
it. Way, but I'd rather fight you than you, Jack. That's how scared I am.
Yo, I mean, man, he's crazy. New Jack was crazy. And if you haven't seen Dark Side of the Ring, The Life and Times of New Jack, tune in. And Vice is doing a phenomenal job with these shows. And I think the new one plays tonight. I don't know who's on it, but the new it's always Tuesday night. So watch it. It's good.
All right, so we'll do a part 2 in the near future. Thanks for the time today, DC. Really appreciate you. For your family and friends, we offer our thoughts, and for all you to be safe and get out of this thing, so we can get back to normal life soon.
Yep, absolutely, man. Thank you, boys. Again, as always, MMA Junkie's always been like my home, so I appreciate you guys riding with me for all these years. I appreciate it.
Right on, brother.
Stay safe out there, boys.
Take care. We'll see you. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.